Okay, well, welcome to today's webinar on behavioral team report, and we're going to cover, sort of a bird's eye view of the information of this special new report that's come out that will help you as a facilitator in understanding the entire team's behavior. So let's just sort of quick review here. I'm sure you remember the 4 DISC styles. You have the D's, you have the I's, the S's, the C's, and the team report sort of enhances the information you get with each person's individual report. So this is pages, snippets from the pages of the report. In the beginning of the report, you get a sort of a DISC overview of the percentages of the types of behavior styles in your team. You can include over 200 people in the team report, and you can add people and take people off that report at no charge as well. In this team, you can see that they have 62% D's, which is really just 5 people in that team. And then you have 38% as an I, which represents 3 people in that team. And then another page over here on the right, you can it breaks it down into 8 sub-descriptors, implementer, conductor, persuader, promoter, relators, supporter, coordinator, analyzer, implementer. And as you can see, that the largest section of that group is promoters as I's. So that must be a fun group to hang out with. So so those are 2 of the pages of that report, and then it gives you more information. Now, really, there's like I don't know, 24 pages of this report. It's quite a comprehensive report, and so let me go back to this one. So you have several wheel shots. You have the natural scores of everybody. This is a different team. You can see it's like 36 people plotted here. This is their natural style, graph 2. And you can see how the whole team shakes out. And by having this information, you can see what are the strengths of the team, what is the dominant behavioral style, what is the shortage of behaviors of this team, and then you can go to another wheel graph which shows how they're adapting. You recall the adapting is where graph 1, how people are adjusting to the work environment. And by knowing this information, you can see that there possibly might be stress. If everybody is moving over to the high C analyzer style, then they're becoming much more detailed oriented and more focused on procedures and rules, which could mean either the job is more detailed oriented, or it could just mean that there's some sort of stress in the environment causing them to be more analytical. That could be good or a bad thing. Usually the more stress people have on them, the less, less creative, less innovative they're going to be. They're going to be more introverted. And so let's talk about the features of the team report. This can be generated off your IDS system. We can do it for you, or you can do it yourself. There's a charge to generate this report. And like I said, you can add up to 200 people. You can include the entire organization, or you can break it down into departments. Or for example, you can take your IT department and just plot them on the wheel, or HR, or sales, or whatever, to get an idea what behavior styles of the are in the organization. And then we have these dashboards based on those 8 sub-descriptors that give you some, pretty important information that I'll show you here in a second. So as I said, is no charge to add additional people down the road as long as you have the report. And so let me just show you another thing you can do with the team report is you can print off table tents with their score and their name tags on the, using special paper in your printer as well. I'm sort of old-fashioned. I just use blank table tents and tell everybody what their color is. So, and then we have different uses of the report. You can look at the information here and do some sort of strategic planning on, what your talent pool looks like, or what your talent pool should look like in the future, what type of people you should be hiring. And also you can also identify the strengths that each person brings to the table, and also identify any potential conflicts between people, between people in the team or in the organization. We talked, that's about intensity. If there are people above 80 or below 20, they may, I'm not just saying in general, don't quote me on this, but they possibly could be, an intense behavior style that could rub people the wrong way. So that would be, that would come out on the report as well. And then there's another page of your report that lists everybody's name and the 8 sub-descriptors I was talking about and gives you their percentages. So in this organization, they have 8% Ds, and there's the 3 people there are the Ds in that organization. And then they have the persuaders and promoters. As I said, this group has a larger number of promoters and coordinators than other organizations or other teams. And by looking at this, you can tell, well, gee, I got 33% are coordinators. So these are, office type people who are comfortable, handling the details and the administrivia of running the office. And if you're, say, for example, just say, a scientist, and say you're working on a new injection for the coronavirus, this would tell you who you might be short. You might want more analyzers than you do coordinators in that particular field. And otherwise, you're going to have an off-balanced group of people here, these coordinators, who are just going to be waiting to be told what to do. And then you have 3 people up here in the coordinators who are going to be the ones making decisions and giving orders and telling everybody else what to do. Is sort of imbalanced, in my particular opinion. And then 19% of the organization is going to be having a lot of fun, having parties. So there are some balances in this group. And one aspect of the team report lists everybody's individual skills or their personal skills. Now, this is it looks complex and confusing, but it's really not. It's really quite simple if you just break it down to the important criteria. So on everybody's DISC report, you have, and this is sort of modified than what's on the actual team report, but you have 12 competencies, 12 individual strengths. And they're rank ordered from 1 to 12, depending on what is the strength of that individual. And so this person, they just created another separate spreadsheet with the data provided to them. They have the names of everybody up here at the top. They have the skill listed to the left, and it just so happened these are the top 7 skills that everybody in the company possesses. The ability to negotiate well, leadership skills, self-starting ability. Well, that's pretty important. appreciation of others, influencing others, conflict management, futuristic thinking. So if you were in a sales organization, these top 7 skills would be, totally different than what's listed here. And then it lists, how each person scored in those personal skills. And obviously, so if it's 100, that's high, and if it's 10, that's low. So to me, this would be pretty important in helping identify what is our organization's strengths and what is our organization's limitations. So let's look at another slide. And this is actually what's in the team report. It's a little fuzzy. I apologize for that. So, it's split up by primary behaviors, situational behaviors, and indifferent behaviors. So it just means primary is more important. Situational means the person is somewhat developed in these skills. And the last ones means they need development. It has no impact on their behavior or their skills. It's indifferent. So anyway, those are the 12 skills I was talking about earlier. And I'm just saying, if we see here, Mr. Austin, who has a 10, which means he's not very competitive. And here's Mr. Kanzler, who's an 80% competitive. That could represent some sort of, as I said, some kind of friction between these two people. Yeah, and then when we look at the other slide, this is a separate report that was generated by one of the facilitators. They listed the names to the left-hand side of the report and the right-hand side of the report, and it shows it a little bit clearly here. These are the competitive people, and these are the people who have a high sense of urgency, who take immediate action. These are people I wouldn't, if they were firefighters, I would want them to score high in sense of urgency and frequent change and versatility. So, this information can be displayed in many different ways to help you, as I said earlier, understand your talent pool, what your strengths are in talent, what are your restrictions in your talent. And then we have several dashboard pages that look like this. Take a look at that. It's two-sided report. And I'm going to take a sip here while you're looking at this. So what you have is the coordinators, the SC people. That was the larger group, and the other slide, represents 21% of the population. It lists their strengths that they bring to the table. They want to work for a leader and a cause, make tough decisions without letting emotions interfere, follow projects through to completion. And then it has potential weaknesses, become stubborn under stress. That sounds like me. Suppress feelings, communicate indirectly, resist change without reasoning. I like people just to be able to read my mind and be able to communicate that way. Doesn't work too well though. And then these 3 words here are words that work when you communicate with that person. And then you have the section called the behavioral attributes. And it shows that either these people are task-oriented, which they're not, or they're sort of on the fence. They can go, they're neither task or people-oriented, or they're just purely people-oriented. So this group of people is sort of, they can go either way. And because they are on the left side of the wheel, as you can see here, they're going to be a little bit slower paced than, say, if they were on the right side of the wheel, which makes them faster paced. and then it gives you the words that don't work with these people. So people who are coordinators, they like to hear things like, well, this is proven, this is going to be easily done, it's validated, it's going to be easy, you know, it's going to be organized. And so those are setting off lights in their neurons. And then there's another page after the dashboard, which has everybody's scores who are coordinators or directors or whatever they are. And this is a great tool to have, you know, before you come in and do a workshop. And I remember I was getting ready to do a workshop in Washington, and I always look for folks who are going to be in the workshop that could be potential extremes or have conflicts or be confrontational in the workshop, and because you don't want to be caught off guard with someone who is there to disrupt things. And so I'd done it, and there was no problems as far as I could tell. And I flew into Washington that evening and got to the hotel and was going over my notes one last time before heading off to Dreamland. And then someone calls me up on my cell phone, and it's the meeting planner. And I'm saying, oh no. And she says, oh, Greg, I really forgot to tell you, there's one man in our group, and I've known him for a long time, and he's very disruptive. And I'm just letting you know, if he's disruptive tomorrow morning, I'm just going to yank him out of the class. And I'm like, holy smokes, why didn't you tell me that before? So anyway, this is not something that's totally unusual to me in my experience. So I show up an hour early to get ready and get prepared at the workshop site and walk into the classroom, and there's this one man sitting there all by himself, first guy there. And I said, this has got to be him. And so I walked up to him and was friendly and introduced myself and shook his hand, asked him what he did, and everything seemed to be fine. And he was the most cooperative guy in that entire workshop. He participated, he didn't raise any problems with anything, and it was, you know, just went super well, like he was, you know, never there. But you want to be prepared, and this report helps you understand the landmines that you may want to face, you know, that you may face during your workshop. So we're actually going to finish, you know, pretty early today, and so you might want to start asking questions if you have any. And while you're thinking about that, and Heather is checking, see if there are other questions, is the handouts. When you download them off the handout page, you know, you have all these additional links here, and you can get the PDF version of the PowerPoint slides that we covered today. You can get a free disc ebook that you can give away. And this takes you to all the sample reports on the web page. This certification training information for those of you who have not been certified yet. And I encourage all of you on the call today that who haven't been certified how to use DISC to take this opportunity up. I mean, you're stuck at home anyway, so you might as well get some education, right? And so there's about, you know, 2 other things here you can get. So while we're finishing up, just want to see if there's any other questions before we hang up till the next time we have a webinar. And I'm going to try to do at least one webinar once a month, some sort of continuing education or something, you know, altogether new that you might be interested in. So if there is other topics you would like to have education on or webinars on, please email me or send it through the chat box here, and we'll try to put it on the schedule. So Heather, anything else we need to do before we say goodbye?
We have a few questions.
Okay.
There is a question about if there is a max number of participants on the team report.
Right, yeah. The max is 200. And you can have a few as 2 as well, but 200 is the max.
And yet we have a question about whether a new hire can be added to the team report, and that is true. You can add up to 50% more participants on the team report and also remove up to 50% from the report without any additional charges. And
right, yeah, all you do is click on that team report and it lets you add whoever you want to add.
Great. And then we have a question about individual reports. So to run the team report, everyone has to have already completed an individual DISC assessment. And then once those people have completed their individual assessment, then they will be able to be added onto a team report.
Yeah, that's correct.
And then there's a question about pricing.
Right, it depends if you've been certified or not. So if you have not been certified, it's I'm trying to remember, $155. If you're certified, it's 20% off that, which I think is a pretty good deal for the value of information.
Right.
And
Especially
then we can do a virtual workshop with your team using the team report, just like we're doing it today. But you get to talk on that one. Sorry about that. Everybody is muted today.
And another question about price. The team report is an additional cost to the individual reports. That's correct.
Correct.
And I believe that's all the questions. If anyone else has another, feel free to go ahead and send it over before we sign off.
Yep, I appreciate it. And you should still have my email, which is here, greg@chartcourse.com or kathy@chartcourse.com or heather@chartcourse.com, and we'll get back to you with an answer. So I just want to say thank you for attending today. Hope you like the shorter format, and we'll talk to you next month, if not earlier. So see you later.